AITA for refusing to take my SIL on a romantic getaway? I, F28, have been friends with Brittany, F28, since we were about 5 or 6. And we are very close to this day. As part of having a friendship with me, she was around my brother, M, would be 30, quite a lot as children. And their romance blossomed as teenagers. They were married 5 years ago. Unfortunately, my brother passed 2 years ago in a tragic accident and left behind a mountain of debt for Brittany. She was 8 months pregnant at the time, and ended up moving in with my parents. Her and her daughter, Lilac, 2F, live with my parents to this day, and the family alternate watching Lilac so Brittany can get her degree. Everyone has really rallied around Brittany in such a trying time. For Christmas, my husband, M30, bought an all-inclusive trip for him and I to explore Paris and have a romantic getaway. I have always had France on my wish list, and I am so grateful to him for such a wonderful gift. We leave in February for 2 weeks, and it is honestly a dream come true. I told my parents about the gift, and they then told Brittany, who called me in floods of tears asking that I take her instead of my husband. She said that she will never be able to experience a romantic getaway like that with her own husband, and that we, my husband and I, could just go again at another time. She said she gave up everything to raise Lilac and she would love for us to have a girls' trip like we did when we were younger. I told Brittany that that was not possible. This was a gift from my husband to me and I fully expected to have a romantic getaway with him. Brittany told me that I was punishing her for being a widow, and that it was unfair I would have a love affair in Paris's while she cried at my brother's grave. My husband thinks she is trying to make me feel guilty, but said he would step out of the trip if I would like to take Brittany. The thing is that I want to go with my husband, but my parents have since called to tell me that they would watch Lilac and that I should not rub my happy marriage in Brittany's face. My mom told me I would be selfish to leave a grieving widow over Valentine's Day. Am I being in awe? NTA. That's such an unreasonable request, and frankly, if that's the way she feels, she should be going for therapy. You're not throwing your marriage in her face. You're celebrating your marriage between you and your husband. My husband, M30, bought an all-inclusive trip for him and I take her instead of my husband. You would be a big awe if you kick out your husband, who paid the trip, out for her, and she is in awe for even asking this. My parents have since called to tell me that they would watch Lilac and that I should not rub my happy marriage in Brittany's face. I told my parents about the gift, and they then told Brittany. They rubbed it in her face. Not you. They made this drama. Clear NTA for you. NTA, tell your parents to take her and Lilac on a trip if they feel sorry for her. NTA, your husband is a saint for asking. But this is a trip he paid for you and him. He's the one who gets to go. Brittany may have lost a partner, but you lost a brother. You need this time as much as she does. I'm sorry, but to quote Reba, the world doesn't stop for her broken heart. Flushed. OMG, what is wrong with the people around you? If you and your husband were just dating now, and he gave you a ring and proposed to you, would she expect to be the one he married? Because after all, she doesn't have a husband anymore. I understand how difficult it has been for her. It's a very sad story. But you guys are doing all you can to help her. I can't even believe she would ask you to do that. I think she's wallowing in self-pity a little too much, or maybe she's just not thinking clearly. But it was a ridiculous request and there's no way in hell you should honor it. Your parents should also know better. I don't understand what they're thinking. A trip to Paris is not cheap. It's not like you're going to the local beach and you can afford to go there next year too. It was a gift from your husband to you. Go with your husband and tell the rest of them that you should try to save for another trip, and then you and her can go together maybe next year. Yes. She lost her husband, but you lost your brother. I'm sure you could use a little happiness in your life as well. Go to Paris. Do not feel guilty. Enjoy the hell out of yourselves. The rest of them will get over it. If not, they're not very good friends, family. NTA. Your husband is right. Brittany is trying to make you feel guilty and is now working on your parents. What guarantee do you have that you and your husband could go again at another time? She lost her husband in an accident and must realize that you never know what might happen. Brittany is only 28. It's possible that she will meet someone else, remarry, and have her own Paris love affair. Go with your husband and enjoy every minute. NTA. I often read these posts and wonder what the hell the extended family are thinking. Obviously it's tragic Brittany lost her husband. But you lost your brother too, so let's not forget that. I can't believe the entitlement expecting you to take her on holiday. It's just wild. NTA. Go with your husband. Forget everything said to guilt trip you. Enjoy the trip and make memories with husband. P.S. Husband is right. So go. Have fun. Absolutely NTA. What happened to her is unfortunate and no one should have to experience that. But you cannot stop living your life because she is a widow. You had your brother taken away from you, so no one can argue that you don't know what she's going through or anything like that. Being a widow does not entitle you to a trip to Paris for 2 weeks. NTA. She has no right to hijack your damn trip. NTA. It is tragic that she lost her husband and you lost your brother. But that does not mean that you are never allowed to enjoy your marriage. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say that her grief is making her see things in a strange way, but you are allowed to be happy. Your happiness isn't rubbing anything in anyone's face. Go on the trip with your husband. Enjoy yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty. And if your parents try to make you feel bad, tell them that you'd happily accept it if they paid for you and Brittany to take a girls' trip at a later date. No. She had no concerns about being a lonely widow on Valentine's Day until she heard about your trip. I get it must be hard for her, seeing people with their loved ones while she lost hers. It's probably tough. But most people would try to be excited for you and push the jealous and sad feelings aside. Because she is your friend and should be happy that you do have this romantic trip that will be wonderful. It's unreasonable to ask you to sacrifice yours because she is alone. I would instead plan a girls' trip another time. But my gosh. I honestly don't think I'd want to go. NTA. Go and enjoy your trip. I'm sorry she is miserable. And it's understandable. But that shouldn't prevent you from living your life. You're not rubbing your happy marriage in her face. What does she expect that you should pretend your marriage sucks? Also, what she may or may not realize is that going to Paris with you is not what she wants. What she really wants is to go to Paris with her late husband. Since that is impossible, it seems she wants to prevent you from enjoying the things she can't. The reality is that you can support her in her grief, but you can't take responsibility for her. You need to be careful with people like that. If something good happens to you, will she always react like that? Inserting herself onto your life and have this weird expectation from you. Now is the time to set clear boundaries. NTA. This your trip with your husband. You need to stand your ground. Go and don't look back. If your family hold this over your head, then they are not worth having in your life. NTA. Absolutely feel for you, your family and your SIL, but I think your SIL has gotten a bit spoiled over the years. Her request is completely inappropriate. NTA. What happened to her is tragic and I'm so sorry for all of your losses, but this is a special trip between you and your husband and I'm honestly so blown away she invited herself, tried to guilt trip you, and the family is okay with this? Absolutely do not take her. Do not do this to your husband or yourself. You go with your husband and have a good time. I'm honestly like flabbergasted she tried to guilt trip you like that. Like you are allowed to be happy in your marriage and do all the amazing fun things, and you should. She needs a lot of therapy, but she doesn't need to hijack your trip, and if she went to therapy I'm sure they would tell her the same thing. I am annoyed your parents acted that way too. Now I feel invested in this. I'm going to be disappointed now if you don't go with your husband. Lol, go with your husband. NTA. As harsh as it may sound, the whole point of a romantic getaway is the romance. You won't get that with your SIL. Instead you'll spend 2 weeks listening to her wishing how her husband, your brother, was there to share it with her, especially if it falls during Valentine's. You will both spend the entire trip miserable. It's all well and good saying that your husband and you can go on another trip some other time. But if your brother's passing proves anything, it's that life is too short to not spend time with your loved ones and make memories while you can. If she's that adamant that you two have a girls' trip together, suggest that the two of you go on a spa weekend, somewhere closer to home, less expensive, and at a less emotionally wrought time of the year. NTA at all. I am so sorry for the death of her husband, but it doesn't give her any right to be entitled to you. She sounds like she is still grieving, and she should definitely work through that with a therapist. At least your parents are the assholes for asking you to give up something you always wanted to do. And they sound very much entitled. Why don't they take her to Paris if they're so worried then? NTA. And for goodness sake, do not change anything. Your husband planned and paid for a wonderful romantic break for the pair of you, which includes Valentine's Day. If your mother is such a stirring control freak to tell you that it would be selfish, point out to her that she and your dad could take Brittany on a trip.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.